I would like to welcome Trisha Aure, Senior Director of Operations and Delivery here at Square One Engineering. Today, Trisha will be leading our discussion on the mentorship advantage, build your career legacy and network, sharing practical insights on how mentorship can accelerate career growth, strengthen professional relationships, and create a lasting impact throughout your career. Trisha is bringing more than 10 years of experience supporting the medical device industry and has led complex programs across regulated environments, helping teams scale their operations while maintaining quality and delivery discipline. We are very lucky that we have her on our team. She is also a mentor with MedTech Women, so if anyone has any questions about that organization, she'd be happy to answer. Trisha was also recognized as a 2021 Orange County 40 Under 40 honoree. And if you've ever met Trisha, you know that she is a proud fur mama to Bailey and Roxy. So take it away, Trisha.
Thank you, Ashley. Super excited to be here with you guys today and talking about one of my favorite topics, which is mentorships. So the hardest part of finding a mentor is first understanding what a mentor should be. Early on in my career, I thought, hey, I have a boss, they'll guide me. That's the same thing as a mentor. But I'll tell you, a boss and a mentor should not be one and the same. Yes, you can have a great boss that guides you and challenges you, but a formal mentor should be outside of your organization. The reason for this is because an outside perspective is not swayed by internal processes, corporate red tape, or things they just see every day. Think about it. When you're in a certain situation, sometimes you have tunnel vision because you're used to whatever that environment is. But when you talk to someone that has no tie to your organization or has a preconceived idea of your situation, they can bring a different thought process to your conversation that you never thought of. The hardest part was not finding a mentor. It was figuring out what I needed from a mentor and how to drive those discussions. Until you know what your goals are and the challenges that you're having with them, you won't know what the type of mentor that you're looking for. There are various types of mentors for various seasons of your life and various aspects of it that's personal or professional. Over the last, 8 years or so, I've had 6 formal mentors and 3 mentees. I've also had informal mentors and mentees as well, which I'll get into later on in this discussion. Who has goals that you have written down and are looking to accomplish over the next year or so? So now, as you're all thinking of these goals, ask yourself, are they realistic? Are they attainable? And are they measurable? These are important questions because if they're not measurable or realistic, how do you know what achievement looks like? It's important to look at your goals and put a plan in place on how to attain them within the given time frame. This will not only help you reach your goals, but it'll also give you a roadmap to use with your mentor. For me, I write down my goals in sections, both professional and personal. Goals I want to achieve within a year, goals in the next 1 to 4, and then 5 plus. I then look at this every year to check off, recalibrate. I might add on, maybe take off, because maybe it's just not a goal anymore because my goals have just shifted. But like I said, this creates a roadmap as well for your mentor. But if you're not utilizing something like this, where it's visual and achievable, I strongly suggest to make that change today. There have been times where I've had to recalibrate my goals because I was either unrealistic with my timing. Maybe I didn't know how to do it. I just knew I wanted to do it. This is where I realized I might need some guidance to help figure this out. This is where mentorship comes into play. So, we're talking about what mentorship is, what it's not, but I think the biggest takeaway from this slide is that last quote. A mentor doesn't tell you what to do. They help you see what you can't see yourself. I've had a lot of great mentors in my career. They've helped show me different perspectives that I haven't considered before and push me outside of my comfort zone. All of my mentors up until recently have been men, which have all been fantastic to help me grow in my career. But I have recently had my first women mentor, and wow, was that just a different perspective and connection I didn't realize I was missing from my other mentors. This is one of the reasons I truly believe you should have multiple mentors in your life. Having someone not only understand my professional goals, the industry and the role I'm in, but also connecting on a personal level is so important. She related to situations I dealt with that a man just may not understand. And if they did, it was an outside perspective and not a personal one. She helped me understand that we have to slow down and celebrate even the small wins. My mind was always check that off and move to the next. But if we sit back and never pat ourselves on the back for achieving a goal, why are we working so hard? We can still check that off, but celebrate it, talk about it. You don't realize who's watching or who you are impacting because you said this out loud. So mentorship matters every stage of your career. And I'm going to take it a step further. It could be before your career. Maybe it's even at retirement, even outside of your career, your personal side. The questions change over your career, your life, but the need for mentorship never disappears. Now, if you're lucky to find one mentor that can help you with various stages of your career, fantastic. But I'll admit it's a rare relationship to find. As I'm sure most of you have seen, your goals have changed over the years and have evolved. That's normal, right? There are different challenges or development that is necessary to hit the next milestone in your career. And I truly believe that never ends. It's okay to have multiple mentors. It's okay to have mentors for a brief amount of time. Some are there for a particular stage in your career, but I also know some people that have had the same mentor for a decade. There are also folks out there with multiple mentors at once, but for different purposes. There is not one way for this relationship to succeed, but what is necessary for success is having intentional interactions, goal roadmaps, and consistency. So let's talk about finding the right mentor. I've talked to people in the past about when they're looking for a mentor, and some of them are like, the first thing they think is it needs to be the most successful person in a particular role. That's not the case. And again, if this is your thought process, you'll be setting yourself up for failure and possibly never finding a mentor. I've had some great mentors in my career, both formally and informally. The reason that I had success with my mentors is because I had specific goals. I was vulnerable and I drove the interactions. Once my goals were identified, that's where the fun starts. Now, here's how I identify a potential mentor. I thought, who has dealt with something similar with this goal or this challenge? Who is in my ideal future role or position? And who in my network can help me find that match? Don't reinvent the wheel here. And also, don't overthink this. I do that a lot. But I've talked to a lot of folks in my career that stand in their own way because they're looking for that perfect 100% match. And then what happens? They get disappointed that they can't find them and stop pursuing this guidance. Don't stand in your own way, guys. So, as I mentioned prior, there are different types of mentors. One mentor doesn't have to fulfill every need, and they probably won't. There are multiple types of mentors that you can have based on what you're looking to achieve. Are you looking to grow into a new role? Are you looking to learn a new skill? Are you wanting to become a manager? Maybe you're already a manager and dealing with a challenge, or maybe it's a personal goal and you're looking for someone to help guide you in how to get to a future state of mind that you just don't have today. Now, you might be asking yourself, or maybe you're going to ask me later, how do I balance that many mentors and structured calls? But again, let's not overthink this. There are formal and informal mentors. Create the structure on priorities for your formal mentors, meaning these are discussions that are reoccurring with a particular goal or two that you're working towards. Informal mentors are people that you trust that can advise you on particular topics and provide insight from their experiences. But it's not the first Tuesday of every month, nor do you really need a roadmap for. It's always good to build a circle of people around you that you feel comfortable opening up to and that you know will call you out when necessary. I have many people in my life, both professional and personally, that are not formal mentors, but will push me and challenge me. And most importantly, they call me out. I know you've heard it before. You should not be the smartest person in your circle. And I believe that's both professional and on the personal side. All right. So you found or you've identified a potential mentor. What do you do now? Curiosity is key when discussing mentorship. There are some organizations or associations that have mentorship programs that help take out some of these unknown factors, meaning people have already committed to being a mentor, and now all you have to do is find the right fit and build a plan. Curiosity and asking questions is still necessary in this scenario. If you're looking for one on your own, you have to level up that curiosity to understand if there's a potential mentor relationship. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have seen my Lunch and Learn about networking, but this is a similar process to have when approaching a potential mentor. If this person on paper looks like a good fit, set up a time to connect, coffee, maybe it's a lunch. Then be genuine with your questions to learn about them and also be vulnerable on what your intentions are. If it's not the right fit or the right time, that's okay. Maybe they have a referral or a connection they can make for you. Maybe they know a group or association that has a mentorship program. The worst thing that can happen is that you made a connection and deepened a relationship in your network. That seems like a win to me. Now, on the flip side, maybe they are interested and can commit to a certain level of guidance. It's important to respect that and take advantage of the time that can be given. How do you get the most out of your mentorship now that you have established that relationship? Mentorship is not passive. This is going to be a theme in the next few slides. The mentee drives these interactions, meaning not only setting the discussions, but being prepared for each meeting and following through on past conversations. Many times my mentors have provided some type of homework or task for me to work through based on the conversations we've had. It's important to follow through, as at the end of the day, they're here to help you. Intention and respect are necessary for these relationships to work. Be coachable, take initiative, and be prepared. The last thing you want to do is waste people's time when they're offering their assistance to you. But if these areas on this slide are on top of mind and consistent, you have nothing to worry about. All right, let's talk about some lessons. So in general, these are the biggest mentorship lessons I've learned to have a successful mentorship relationship. Now, although this is a generalization, this is the foundation for any and all successful mentorships. This is true for the mentor as well. If you're mentoring someone, setting expectations is very important. I cover these three on both sides of my mentorship, if I'm the mentee or the mentor, just to ensure everyone is on the same page and there's no confusion on who's responsible for what. So mentee driven. You must do the work before, meaning what are you trying to achieve? Why are you trying to achieve it? What happens if you don't? More importantly, what happens if you do? Be authentic and vulnerable. Surface level conversations will only get you so far. You have to let your guard down, and that's where the real growth starts. Now, like I've said, I've had great mentors. I've also had a lot of good and hard learning lessons from mentors over the years. But now I'm going to be a little vulnerable on a personal mentorship lesson I've learned. And I can say I've overcome, for the most part anyway. I'm still working on it. And ironically, it was a pretty consistent theme or feedback that was uncovered during my mentorship conversations is understanding that I deserve the seat at the table. When I started my career at Square One, I quickly was an employee, turned into a business owner, and then developing and managing a new department. I struggled to fit into these shoes because, to be quite frank, I never saw myself as a business owner. I knew I wanted to climb to the top, but what did that even mean? I never really defined it. In my mind, it meant I was working on the 20th floor of a corporate building in a power suit and some fly shoes. As I'm sure a lot of you know, it's a lot more than that. It's a mind shift change, and I had no idea how to even start. As I started working with my mentors through this next chapter of my career, I started building confidence and understanding that I earned this role and promotion. I then could start the work on how to navigate this new role with my mentors, of course. During this time, I had a life mentor and I had a career mentor. This was a big shift for me, which goes into my next chapter within mentorship, giving back. So, how do you know when you're ready to become a mentor? Some think, hey, I don't have enough experience to give back, or who even would want my advice? This goes back to my comment about mentors for different stages of your life and career. Even if you just graduated college, don't you think that you can provide your experiences to the new college folks entering? It's not about years of experience. It's about experiences in general that you can share. Over the years, I had people organically reaching out to me to mentor or get my advice. But my first formal mentorship experience where I became a mentor was after I was mentored by a woman. The confidence she provided me immediately made me want to provide and guide that same type of experience to other women. Today, I have people reach out to me, some I've never met before, but somehow they found me. Maybe it was my network, my LinkedIn journey, and I did have some referrals as well. I always follow up with them, especially if they're genuine in their outreach and intention. This is a passion of mine to be able to provide insight or guidance to folks that may deal with similar challenges. Also, if you made that shift to mentor, that does not mean you can't have a mentor of your own. Just because you're giving back doesn't mean you're finished growing in your career. Now, I think the important message here is you do not need to be an executive to be a mentor. You need to be in a position to be able to share your experience, provide guidance, and push them out of their comfort zone. The last part is important. challenging their thought process and guiding them to a result. This could happen at any point in your career. People, when you're making an impact on them, they don't forget that. And I've had mentees that have had certain goals, and it's a proud moment to be able to see when it's being achieved. So it's just something, again, it's for every season, and I don't think this should ever end wherever you're at in your career, your life. All right, so this wouldn't be a Trisha Aure lunch and learn if there was no action plan, right? Now it's time for me to challenge you all. Even if you already have goals or already have a mentor, it's important to recalibrate. Like I mentioned earlier, I look at my goals every year to see not only what I've accomplished, but to do a bit of restructuring on what is realistic in the moment. So I would challenge you all to identify one area you need guidance in. That could be professional or personal. One person you can learn from in that area, and one person you can help. All right, so before I open this up for some discussion time, here's some closing thoughts I have. So the biggest mistake I made was waiting too long to seek mentorship. The biggest surprise was realizing that one day I would have the opportunity and responsibility to become a mentor myself. Seek wisdom, share wisdom, repeat. You may not realize things you have been through can help someone else work through it quicker, more confidently, or maybe it's just head on. Good question. I think the first part of that is making sure you're doing the work ahead of time. So not just say, hey, I want a mentor, let's match somebody up because they're in the same industry, right? I think it's important to, like I mentioned, figure out the goals. What are you looking to accomplish now? And then doing that matchup as best as you can. Now, it's not going to be 100% match, but if you're vulnerable and you tell them what your intentions are and what you're looking to get out of it, that person should be able to say, hey, well, this is how I can guide you, or hey, I might not be the right fit. And even if it's a no, I actually take that as a positive because otherwise you're wasting each other's time, right? But let's go down the scenario of like, hey, we thought this was a match. And at some point within that relationship, just it just either wasn't working out, or maybe there's just some type of miscommunication where you need to end that relationship. So, because this is a volunteer thing and no one's getting paid for any of this stuff, typically anyway, I think you still have to respect that relationship. I think the important part is now, hey, thank you. I think at this point, we can close this out on this call because you should have regularly scheduled calls. I appreciate all your time. Thank you so much. If there's anything I can help you out with that. So it's really just closing out the relationship. As I was talking through this presentation, this is mentee driven. So every week or month, mine are either monthly or biweekly. The mentee is coming prepared with a discussion, and at that point where there's just nothing more to talk about, hey, that's fine. Now, maybe you have a new season or a new goal that you want to accomplish and be able to move on to another mentor. So that's where that networking piece I mentioned comes into play. So there needs to be a little bit of investigation work too. So I'm going to have to assume that you maybe have identified some of you just don't know how to approach them. So take it as networking. Hey, Ashley, I see that we're in the same industry. I'd love to learn a little bit about you. Can we go out to coffee or lunch? That's on me. Or maybe it doesn't need to be on you. Hey, can we go to a coffee or a lunch? Take that time and now just talk to them, learn about them. But I do think it's important to say, hey, this is a little bit about me, and I'm actually looking for a mentor. At the point of you're already asking them questions, you might now already have a little bit of understanding if they're a good fit or not. And if they are, now that's where, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Do you have any advice, or would you be able to mentor me here? And if not, do you know somebody maybe in your space that can help me? I think that curiosity and the, I guess, vulnerability part is just important. But even just connecting with people within that networking space, that's why I always lean on people that I know and make referrals or connections for me that may know things that could be able to help me in the future as well. So curiosity, vulnerability, and just ask a ton of questions. But I think it's very important if there are people that say, yes, I can help you, or I will schedule time with you, respect that time. Now, I know stuff comes up. I've had to reschedule calls before, but again, just make sure it's not all the time, and you give them enough time so they can kind of recalibrate their calendar as well. So I think it's similar to the goals, right? Like this is now it's a recalibration conversation, right? And it sounds like you two already have a really good relationship where you can kind of be candid, especially being over a couple years now. So, the next time you guys sit down, just like, hey, I've really valued our relationship over the last couple years, and I definitely don't want this mentorship or relationship, however you want to state that, to go away. But what I would like is to maybe recalibrate a little bit. But before that conversation, I would want you to figure out what that is. So is it a certain I don't know, path you're looking to get out of, or maybe it's something else you're trying to accomplish, or just level up in. So once you know what you're still trying to obtain out of this relationship, that's when I would have that conversation with them and just like, hey, let's recalibrate. This is great. Now this is what I'm looking for. What do you think about that? Good question. So that goes on to having goals written down, and how to obtain those goals. So this is the whole roadmap part. So if you have a particular goal, so for instance, I had a mentee, I think this was 2 years ago. She was about 3 years in her role, engineering, and she wanted to figure out how to eventually get into project management. Now, that wasn't going to happen in 6 months, maybe not even a year, but it was about building the skills in order to get yourself on that list when those PM roles started opening up. So her and I were talking, and hey, well, maybe you need to start leading some discussions in these meetings. Maybe start taking over, different parts of a project, and gaining more, I guess, experience in that. So I know that's a specific experience, but that's what's important. What's the goal, and what's the roadmap to get that? So once you hit that's your accomplishment, that's your achievement. But I also think being realistic with it. Now, the woman I'm talking about, she ended up getting her first project. She wasn't a PM, but she got her first project in a year. But when I talked to her in the beginning, because she's at a big company, she only had a few years experience, I wanted to be a little realistic with it, right? So, hey, this might not happen this year, but let's get you prepared when that time comes. And you know what was fantastic about it? It happened in a year. And then she led that project. So again, being realistic with it, but having what that end goal looks like. And if you have the roadmap and you share that with your mentor, that'll be able to guide those milestones as you're leading up to it. So if it's a really big goal, maybe you have 3 or 4 steps you need to do before you hit this. I think that's what's important too. If it's a large goal, baby steps. And I'm going to say, I don't know if you guys remember, celebrate these wins. Even if it's just the milestone, celebrate it. So many people, I think, just move on. I do. And I don't think we're doing ourselves justice, or, again, why are we working so hard if we're not celebrating? That's unfortunate, when you're feeling that, you lost a little bit of interest. But I love you already said, hey, how do I recalibrate it? But I think, to take that even a step further, in the beginning, to be able to set those expectations of what am I expecting from you? This is what you should be expecting from me, and having those, lines, I guess, clear. Now, I'm not sure, when you say interest level, like maybe they were really busy, life happens sometimes, and it is what it is. I've had situations, where that, hey, I just got really busy and I kind of have to drop this relationship. That's hard to hear as a mentee. But, again, this is people's time, and you kind of have to respect it, and move on, lack of better terms, right? But if it's where there is an opportunity to recalibrate, then I would have that next discussion. Hey, well, here's what I want to discuss today based off your one or two goals that you guys discussed in the beginning. But also, hey, is there anything I could be doing differently today or during our relationship? I always like to ask that. Even when back in my days that I used to sell, I used to ask, is there anything I could do better in this meeting or that I could be able to help you out? So it's just not only does it show a little bit of vulnerability and makes you you, and just a real person to whoever you're talking about or talking to, I apologize. It gives you a clear, most of the time anyway, a clear idea of where they stand and if you guys are actually meshing or not. So, I might not say, hey, are you not interested anymore? But I would just say, hey, is there anything, especially as a mentee, is there anything I could be doing better? If you feel like there's a situation where they're, I guess, I don't know, expecting something from you, take it to, hey, I appreciate, this relationship. Is there anything I can ever help you out with? And just, throwing it on the table that way. Or if there's stuff that they're mentioning that's important to them, like, hey, I go to a lot of networking events, or maybe it's personal. You and I talked a little bit this over lunch a couple weeks ago. Hey, maybe like you heard that they like to hike. Hey, have you been to these places? And then break down that kind of professional business conversation into something just a little bit more on the personal level, right? And then that wall kind of comes down because maybe they seem like, hey, this just needs to be a professional relationship and I don't want to talk anything outside that, or they feel they cannot talk anything outside that. But once that wall is dropped a little bit, people just tend to open up. And if they don't, maybe that's just, how that relationship is, So I think the other side of it too is don't take anything personally. Out of a mentor-mentee relationship, if it feels like, oh, they need something from me, I don't think that's the best type of relationship anyway, because it's not necessarily how it should be built out. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much, Trisha, for all of your insights. Well, I hope everyone here found today's session valuable and walked away with a few ideas that you can apply in your own career, whether that's finding a mentor, becoming a mentor, or strengthening the professional relationships that you already have.